She's easily one of the most admired, iconic political leaders anywhere in the world, a symbol everywhere for the power of one, the power of hope, and as her husband once said in a book that he edited, the symbol of freedom from fear. It is our honor to be interviewing Daw Aung San Suu Kyi today here in Delhi. Aung San Suu Kyi, we were also moved by your incredible public lecture in Delhi, and one of the things that really struck me was the fact that you still spoke of politics as an ethical calling, as a moral calling, as it were. At a time when there is so much cynicism about politicians and politics everywhere, what has kept your faith in the capacity of politics to still be an agent, a moral agent, as it were, of change?
I think it's simply that I don't know any other way of looking at it. This was the way I was brought up to think of politics, that politics was to do with ethics, it was to do with responsibility, it was to do with service. So I think I was conditioned to think like that, and I'm too old to change now.
You didn't ever lose faith along the way? You didn't get cynical? You saw some incredibly difficult moments in your life.
Yes, but politics is what you do in the end. Each politician must decide for himself how she or he is going to approach problems. And what other people did was, or the way in which other people went about politics, was, of course, basically their business, even if it did affect my life. But that didn't mean I had to be like them, or I had to decide that I must change my life because other people don't live their lives the way I do.
Personal sacrifice often lends political leaders a kind of moral authority that they sometimes don't get in more serene times. You have been through some incredible moments of personal loss, not being able to meet your husband when he was terminally ill, being separated as a mother from your two boys, living under house arrest. And yet, in your lecture, you said that there should be less focus on self-sacrifice and perhaps more focus on the others, those who loved you, those who have to let go. That their choices and their surrender is almost more difficult and doesn't get told with the same sort of maybe applaud and heroism. Is that how you process the sacrifice of your family, that it was almost tougher for them than it was for you?
I was not thinking of my family in particular. To tell the truth, I think it was easier for my family because they were not in Burma and because they were not Burmese, than for the families of my colleagues, those who were put in prison, and their families had to struggle to get by. And they were always under threat, as it were, from the regime. And at the same time, they had to take care of the husband or father or wife or sister, whoever happened to be in prison. And life was very difficult for them. And nobody really acknowledged how difficult it was for them.
So in a sense, did you make your peace with what was happening to your life by always telling yourself that something much worse was happening to your party colleagues, to those who were in prison? Is that how you made sense of it all?
No, it was not trying to make peace with myself or trying to make sense of it. It was just recognizing things for what they are. You cannot get away from the fact that some of my colleagues' families really went through a terrible time.
You know, reading Freedom from Fear, which of course your husband Michael edited, and he wrote the introduction to it, and in that he wrote about how when you got married, you told him early on that there could be a day that you would have to put your country before your family, and at that time you would need all his love and support, but he had to be mentally prepared for it as well. How difficult was it for him, you think?
Well, since he was mentally prepared for it...
But can anyone ever really be mentally prepared for something like this?
Not totally, of course.
Yes.
You are never really totally prepared for something until it happens. But it didn't really come as a surprise to him.
And you have said again and again that it's about making a choice. And as a politician, you made a choice to stay in Burma and fight for democracy. But every human being has moments of self-doubt, has moments of what if, has moments of looking over your shoulder and saying, maybe I could have done it differently. Do you have any of those moments of regret or doubt about the choices, the incredibly brave choices that you made?
I've never had doubts about the fact that I chose my country and the cause in which I believed. Sometimes, of course, I worry about whether I did things the right way to do with our work.
I read this incredibly moving story. I don't know if it's true that when you decided you could not leave the country to meet your husband because you may never be able to come back again, you actually taped a farewell message for him that you sent through the British Embassy, but it never got there in time. And I read about this. I don't know if that's how it actually happened.
Well, I believe it didn't get there in time.
And that is so heartbreaking for me to hear. I can't even imagine what you would have felt.
I didn't think too much about it because what was important was that he should have been able to go as gently as possible. And I do not think it would have made that much of a difference even if he had received the message on time.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for Retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.